Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Cassandra. I have an 8-month-old daughter, Adeline, and today I'm going to be talking about my exclusively pumping journey. It was for sure a very long journey and a tough journey. So I'm just going to be sharing that whole process with you guys today. I know when I was first looking into exclusively pumping, I did a ton of research and I found a lot of inspirational women on YouTube that also exclusively pumped. I wanted to share this video as well so I can share my journey and hopefully bring some inspiration or bring some comfort to other women that might also be looking into exclusively pumping. I first just want to do a disclaimer that I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a lactation consultant, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. I am just strictly here to give my story and tell you guys what I did and how the journey went for me. So if you guys are looking for advice or anything like that, this is definitely and certainly not the video for you. I just wanted to start by sharing my story. So before, when I was pregnant, I didn't think anything about exclusively pumping. I didn't even know that was an option. I just never thought about it. I thought that I would have my daughter and she would latch on great and then I wouldn't have to worry about anything else. So I just thought I would strictly breastfeed and that was it. So I was actually induced 3 weeks early. We went into the hospital because my blood pressure was so high and I didn't think that they would induce me. I thought I was just gonna go for some tests and go home. So when I was in the hospital, the nurses were trying to help me kind of like figure everything out last minute. And they had suggested that I contact my insurance company and they had this great information for me. I met with a lactation consultant and I went through my medical insurance to order a breast pump. I did get the Medela pump-in style. It took a couple of days for it to come in. But in the meantime, I also had a Medela manual breast pump. So my daughter was born and they were trying to get her to latch and she just would not latch. She didn't want anything. So the lactation consultants, because I met with several different lactation consultants, and none of them could really get her to latch. One time we got her to latch and that was it. And it was like a whole 45-minute process. It was just really, really difficult, frustrating, overwhelming for sure. So after a while, we just figured that, breastfeeding is probably not going to be for me, but they also encouraged me to keep trying because, it takes a little bit just to get adjusted to it. So we kept trying to get her to latch. Now, in the meantime, I was also using the manual Medela breast pump, and then I was also using the breast pump that the hospitals have as well to just get some of my colostrum out, and then I was just bottle feeding that to her. So it wasn't like it was a supply issue, it was just a latch issue for me strictly, but when I got home, I kept trying to get her to breastfeed, get her to latch. I was using all the techniques that the lactation consultants had me try to use, and nothing was working at all. So I just started to pump my own breast milk. It took a couple of days for my breast milk to really come in, but I had a really good supply and a really good letdown. So I was using the Medela manual breast pump until my Medela pump-in style breast pump came in the mail. I was using it. I was getting around 32 ounces a day. What I would do, because I was exclusively pumping and I wasn't able to breastfeed her, I would get my bottles ready. So I would at first you're only drinking a couple ounces at a time. So by the end of it, I was trying to get between 4 and 6 ounces per bottle in the fridge. And then I would have a collection of about 4 to 6 bottles in there because I was working at the time and my husband was home. So he was going to be feeding her those bottles primarily. So I would have a stash in there for him. And then whenever I did have extra, I would also put that in the freezer. So if he needed an emergency bottle or something and it wasn't there, he would be able to go in the freezer and thaw it out and use that to feed our daughter. So I would keep those bottles in there and that was a really good system. I know some people get pitchers and then they pour all their milk in there and then they divvy them up at the end of the day for the next day. It's really what you like. I found that I just tried different techniques until I found the one that worked best for me. You kind of come up with your own as you go, your own little system. Everyone's situation is so different, which is why everyone's like breastfeeding and pumping journey is also so different, and the children are different. So everyone's journey is going to look different than my particular journey, and, vice versa. So I would have my bottles in the fridge, and then I would pump every 3 hours, and I was pumping for like 20 minutes, but I wasn't really sure how long to pump. So when I got home from the hospital, I did a ton of research. I looked up a lot of YouTube videos because, again, I didn't know that you could exclusively pump. It wasn't until I started researching on YouTube that I found out that that was actually a method to feed your child. So I would exclusively pump. That's exactly what I did. So I looked up a lot of videos, spent a lot of time doing that. I would pump every 3 hours, and I would pump for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then eventually my supply would get low, so I started to pump for 40 minutes, and that's just a really, really long time to be pumping. So I would use the Medela pump-in style at first, and I really didn't have any problems with it. The only thing is, for some reason, I didn't think to use a pumping bra. A pumping bra is specific because it holds the pumps in place, so you don't constantly have to hold them there. But for most of my journey, I just held them on my breast for some reason. I never really looked into a pumping bra. I guess I just didn't even think about it, and nobody suggested it to me, so I just really didn't know until I saw them one day. So I would hold the pumps in place, and that got really tiring, so I decided to order a Mom Cozy. I've heard a lot of different mixed reviews about the Mom Cozy, and if you guys are interested in a video where I talk about the Mom Cozy that I used, please comment down below and let me know, and I can definitely get that out there for you. But I ended up switching from the Mom Cozy to the Elvie for a couple of different reasons. For me, it was making a lot of noise, and then I also was using it for like a month straight, and then all of a sudden it kept just leaking, and the covers would come off, and I would lose all that milk. And if you guys pump at all, or you guys breastfeed, it's really, really frustrating when you lose a lot of milk. It's really sad because you work hard for your milk, and that's how you feed your baby. So I decided to put the investment into an Elvie, which I'm really, really, really happy I did. And once I got my Elvie, I didn't use my Medela anymore. I specifically used my Elvie. Now, I was working and pumping at the same time as well. And luckily my work was really, really good about it. It made me feel really comfortable about it. So it really wasn't, it definitely wasn't convenient. It's not really convenient to exclusively pump at all. But it was definitely, I was comfortable doing it, and it wasn't that big of a deal, from between pumping at home and pumping at work. So I pumped at work as well when I was working full time at the time. And I had my Elvie, and that's all I used was my Elvie. So my pumping situation, I still was getting 32 ounces for such a long time. And when I went back to my OB for my 6-week checkup, he had let me know that, most women, if they're just breastfeeding, they usually don't get their periods back until after. But unfortunately for me, I did get it back about 8 weeks after I gave birth. And once I got my period back, that's when I noticed a lot of my milk, just my production let down so much. It seemed like every period I would get, it would just decrease in half. So by the time I was at the 4-month mark, I barely had any breast milk. And I mean, I tried lactation cookies, lactation supplements. I was eating a ton of good stuff. I was drinking enough water. I would try the body armors because I heard good things about that. I tried Gatorade because I heard a lot of good things about that, and nothing was working for me. And I ended up gaining a lot of weight too because I was just eating so much, trying to keep my supply up, and I was drinking a lot of calories, trying to get Gatorade in, body armors in, and that sort of thing. It just did not work for me, and that's okay. But when it first happened, it was really frustrating for me, and I remember how hard it was for me, and I really wanted to share my journey specifically because it was so hard for me. And I felt, not like a failure, but kind of like I failed. I'm really just wanted to breastfeed my daughter when I couldn't breastfeed her. That was really a letdown. And then when I couldn't exclusively pump to give her that and I had to switch her to formula, it really upset me and I was crying about it. But now that I'm 4 months out, so I officially stopped when she was 4 months old. Now that she's 8 months old and I'm 4 months out of my pumping journey, I could not be happier. I'm so glad that I decided to make the switch to exclusive formula. She gets formula now. We haven't had any issues getting a supply of formula. We've just been buying formula when we see it in the stores. And luckily for us, our area is pretty rural, so there wasn't like a lot of, I guess demand maybe was probably why we had a decent stock of the formula in stores. But yeah, and I also wanted to mention too, so yeah, it made me feel really upset, which is why I really wanted to do this video, is because I think it can help a lot of other women as well. Right now I am going back to school. I'm working on getting my master's in data science and engineering. So that's really exciting. I'm no longer at my workplace anymore, so I'm specifically just a stay-at-home mom. And it's been really nice. I feel like I've been able to bond with my daughter more, but also too, because I'm not pumping anymore, I feel like I can really spend time with her. When I pumped was when she ate. So when I was pumping, it was really hard for me to like feed her and just kind of like coordinate my pumps with her and the bottle and everything like that. So my husband did so much of the feeding, which I'm so grateful for. But now that I've switched to formula, not only do I physically and mentally feel so much better because I'm not putting such like a heavy task on my shoulders, but I also feel like I've been able to bond with my child even more because I can feed her. I always never had an issue with like bonding with her, but I just feel like I've been able to get that much closer with her because, because I can be included in the feedings. So that's the journey that I had. I'm so grateful that I was able to exclusively pump for 4 months. And I also just wanted to leave the message out there not to go too hard on yourself. It's a very difficult task. Just becoming a mom in itself is so challenging in so many different ways. So, don't beat yourself up if you have to exclusively pump, if you can't pump, if you can't breastfeed or anything like that. The most important thing at the end of the day is that your child is loved and your child is healthy, happy, and well fed. Whether that's formula or breast milk or, so be it. As always, if you guys have any video suggestions or anything like that, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. Another thing during that time was that we were traveling a lot because our in-laws live about 5 to 6 hours away. So I was also pumping as well when we would go on those long car like road trips. So please let me know if you guys want like a tips video on that, or if you have any other suggestions. As always, please feel free to subscribe. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching. Bye.